All right, what's going on, everybody? So we're going to talk about market update. And first things first, start off with the 5K account. The challenge account at the beginning of the year was $5,000, currently sitting at $5,800. Yesterday, we took two short trades, one of which panned out well. The other one we got stopped out of. The one we got stopped out of was waves. So we had entered short at 21.3. And if you go to the 5K count challenge right here, you could see waves was, when we got in, waves was trading at 21.3, went all the way to a low of, I think, 21 flat or maybe slightly lower down here, 20 and a half, as you can see. Honestly, like I wouldn't have thought to cut that because to me, this kind of looked like, an extension that, I really thought from here we would break down, but it looked like waves just wanted to keep going up. And so we got stopped out of that trade as prices went up overnight for a small loss. But then luckily our Solana trade, our Solana short position panned out. And I am glad that we closed out Solana where we did, because what happened was, remember, the one thing that we've been doing in crypto markets is been very, very tightly correlated with the US equity markets, right? And so if you're short or you're long, you have to pay attention to the momentum and the volume and the levels that are happening in the stock market side. So the one thing that I was kind of paying attention to yesterday was somewhere around this area. Yesterday, when the US equity markets closed somewhere around here, I said, well, okay, it doesn't look like we're smashing right through these levels. We only did this kind of like overnight, right? But by the time the US equity markets closed yesterday, remember, when US markets close, right, during regular operating hours, crypto has actually been kind of bouncing from those levels right into the post after hours of the US equity markets until the next day's session. So for example, the US session is about to open up in 15 minutes. And as of right now, BTC is actually up from the lows versus the US equity markets are much closer to the lows. In fact, they actually broke a key level that we were watching yesterday, which was this 4212 marker right here, right? That was a more important level that I was paying attention to. And I told y'all, if we smash through this level, and if we start breaking down through it, that's not a good sign. Okay, ultimately, I think that will bleed on into BTC. But as of right now, Bitcoin is slightly up on the day, right? And ES is actually down in the pre-market hours. Now we have to see, guess what? BTC is creating this descending broadening wedge. Okay, so where to from here, right? Broadening wedges for Bitcoin can technically be bullish, because that's really the definition of the broadening wedge. Is like what's happening is prices being funneled like this, but the sellers are not able to capture a full, breakdown like that, right? So the longer you stay in the funnel and, the more time you keep getting back to the local like resistance point, the logic is that if the bulls can slowly break through this resistance point, boom, you're going to have a very nice pop in the market. And this is kind of what happened back here. If y'all remember, we had this funnel right here developing. And I told y'all that, hey, if you look closely, okay, so if you look closely in this funnel back here, this was on the 20th of February, all the way down to the 23rd of February, right? We were developing this funnel. We had a fake out right at the break of the top of the resistance point, but boom, we sold off. And again, we came back to the support point of this descending trend line. And then we finally popped. Okay, so I am kind of under the impression that we might do something similar to that. I'm not quite sure if we're going to have a breakout and a fake out again, but fact of the matter is we're once again funneling in this area, and funnels like this imply that the bulls and bears are pretty equally matched. This could go either way. We could have another nuke down back towards this trendline support low, or from here we might actually just start breaking out. Okay, so fact of the matter is it's evenly matched, and where this puts us is when BTC was trading right here at the low yesterday and we started bouncing as the US equity markets were closing yesterday, not having broken this key support trend line. I said, hey, we need to get out of our Solana short position, which was right at this low. Okay, if y'all remember, I made my target 81 instead of the original 75, which was down here, right? The reason I had 75 is because I was kind of aiming for this low down here. But I said, well, it looks like US equity markets are bouncing, BTC slightly bouncing. I think we need to raise up our short target for Solana. So being flexible and nimble in this market and being able to secure profit is probably going to be sort of the winning position for trading, which is that if you have some very ambitious targets to the short side or the ambitious target to the long side, once the market has hit key lows or key highs, you need to start recognizing that your market does not move on its own. It moves, at basically the steps of the US equity markets. Okay, so what about now, right? What do we do from here? Well, I think as the US equity markets open, I think this is a very, very key important level that we broke below 42.12. And if we are unable to reclaim this level and start pressing up higher, and say we start breaking down from here, I would say with pretty high confidence that Bitcoin is going to get sent back down right towards the bottom of this funnel. And not only that, I have a level in mind. Okay. First, let me do this. Let me get rid of these lines. I think I don't like trading view because they don't understand that if I'm drawing something on a specific time frame, why bring it to a daily, all these trend lines and stuff. Anyway, you have to manually change that. All right, so my thought process here is this, right? First of all, you have this ascending trend line support. Okay, we're breaching through it. So what happens after that? Well, if we breach through it and we break down, the next level of support is this last little bit where the bulls had absorbed all the sellers right here, and they just went turbo mode to the upside, squeezing the shorts. So this is the last particular area that I would be very, very interested in, right around 37,000 or so. This is on Bybit. I think this level is different on other exchanges, but on Bybit, that's 37,000. If we sweep this level and say we wick into this level, and then we start closing back up, and then we do something like this, I would probably target at minimum longs right here and longs quite possibly way the heck up here or yearly open. Okay, I know it's ambitious, but I would not ignore that scenario. If prices, however, do something like this and they do something like that and they start rolling over, this might be your first short. This might be adding to your short, and then you just take this trade back down towards this low, because this is the most important low in my opinion. Okay, that'll be around 33,000 or so. All right, so those are really the only two scenarios that I'm paying attention to in terms of scalp positions. I'll let y'all know through the day if I find any quick short or long opportunities, right? But who knows how things are going to pan out. Like I said, we're sitting right on top of this descending trend line resistance. If you want to go short now, stop above here, better safe with a stop above here. And then you could ride this trade back down to 37,000 as your target profit. Okay. Cool. Let me see here. So in terms of other data points, I'm not really seeing anything special. No significant open interest climb in any asset. No, big change in volume or anything that's noticeable. I didn't really see anything big in liquidation data. I checked the funding rates, nothing really special in my opinion. Um, Everything kind of seems flat, right? There's no real directional move to be made yet, in my opinion, other than if Bitcoin, like I said, right, if it starts using this as support and starts moving up from this level, it has to clear this local high. Okay, so 39.5 needs to clear this local high and start pressing up higher. Then I would say, okay, that might be a decent long trade with a stop just below, or inside this trend line funnel. Okay, that might be an opportunity. Just remember that you got to recognize when there's times to wait in the market, and then when there's times to pull the trigger in the market. And I think as of right now, there's probably time to wait. Okay. And I think same goes for Solana and some of these other assets. I think, for the most part, like very choppy, very non-directional movement as of right now. If you just want to go aggressively short and you want to have your stop higher for your short position, that's okay, right? But the thing about some of these assets is like you never know if you're shorting somewhere in here and you're going to get squeezed out higher. So you got to make sure that if you do get squeezed out higher from here, you're prepared for the price to squeeze higher and you're prepared to add higher, not just have your stop really tight because you took on a lot of leverage. And as I've told y'all before, please use leverage at your own discretion. Be very careful with high amounts of leverage, high amounts of borrowed margin, etc. This is a market that is really just kind of looking to take liquidity on whatever side it could get. That's just how illiquid bear market conditions are. It makes it very tough to trade in these environments. So all you got to do is realize that, okay, take on smaller positions, take on less leverage, take profit, wherever you could get it, right? At key lows, key highs, depending on your position and your bias. Okay. So anyway, open interest. I have not seen anything specific out of any individual coin. I've already talked about global open interest, which is the overall market open interest. I expect this to break down further. I've told y'all that this directly correlates with the overall leverage in the system, which in my opinion is still a lot. And this is not even counting the option space. This is just futures contracts. The option space, remember, is actually getting bigger and bigger by the week, by the month, because if you'll remember, right, there's actually these things called DOVs, DeFi option vaults. And you can go to Friction. This is one of those DeFi option vaults. Okay, so what you could basically do is they have these strategies laid out and you just park your Solana, your MSOL, your Bitcoin, and you can make some money based on this strategy, the option strategy that they have. Now, I'm not an options expert or anything, but for the most part, a lot of these strategies are very, very tough to even make money on. But what they're saying is, hey, if you park your money in here, whether the conditions of some of these strategies work, some of them are basically like, what's it called? Delta neutral strategies, meaning like you're not really betting on the upside or the downside of the market. What you're really doing is you're parking your money to be able to make some APY just for parking your money, right? Because the strategies are such that it'll say, this is a covered call strategy for Bitcoin, the call option, as you can see right here. Actually, what is their strategy? Let me see. Underlying asset. It doesn't even say. Okay. So let's just say a covered call strategy could be like, let me buy 25th of March call strike of 45,000 and let me buy the same date for a put strike of 30,000 or something like that, right? Or some parameters like that. And so the point is like, you're not really going to make money to the upside or the downside depending on what the strategy is. What you're really doing is you're saying, okay, well, I'm just going to make sure I park my BTC or my Solana or my Luna in here and make my money that way. Okay. Because what they're really doing is what these guys are really doing is they're saying, hey, we're going to take your Luna and we're going to park it to some of these strategies. And we are going to make money on the spreads of the options with different strategies in the background. Or we're going to lend these assets to other higher paying APYs. Like that's exactly what's happening in these strategies. Katana, I think, is the same thing, right? Katana is, again, I think on the Solana network, and they have similar DOV strategies, which are DeFi options vaults. You can see covered calls for Solana, for MSOL, for ETH, for W Luna. So anyway, point is, options world is growing, and there's different ways to be excited and exposed for the options side of the world. For example, if I'm not mistaken, I think DYDX is starting to come out with options. So if you go to DYDX right here, this is one of those, DEX trading protocols, right? If you believe that options are going to be a big thing in the coming few months or coming year or two, DYDX is one of those exchanges that you could pay attention to. I mean, Katana and Friction are one, but I'm trying to figure out one with a token. I'll think of some and I'll let y'all know. I mean, I know there's a lot of them coming out. Okay, let me see. There's a question in the chat. All right, what is your general conviction when to take trade in this condition? Like you said, for BTC going short right now, or wait till directional move is expected. Is that the way, waiting for 2 candles on an hourly time frame? So part of it is just recognizing where you are in context of the market. Like, for example, if my eyes are on this $37,000 low because I find that liquidity is very, very ripe for taking at this area, then anything up here, right? If I'm seeing momentum starting to break down inside, so for example, BTC is currently sitting right at the top of this descending trend line resistance, right? And we spend a decent amount of time here. We're not seeing a breakout. If the US equity markets open, which they're about to right now, and they start opening down, right? Let's just say like the US equity markets pop up a little bit for the first few minutes and then they start selling off. I might be inclined to take that short because I already know it looks like we're failing to hold above this descending trend line. If we start breaking back down, I'm going to take that short, tight stop right above this high, trade this back down to 37,000. So the point is, like, to answer your question, there's never a single formula to recognize if there is a trade to be taken based on, X and Y parameters. For example, just because we spent 2 hours, 2 hourly candles above a specific area and we're failing to break out, that's one condition. But then the other condition is, well, the US equity markets are opening below a key level. That takes precedent, in my opinion, right? What if bad news comes out? It's like yesterday we had, right in this area, we had Biden talking about regulation for cryptocurrencies, some crap like that came out and literally sold the market off, right? So it's like a variety of things that you have to pay attention to. And there is no single indicators, no single strategy that can help you kind of recognize what's a good trade. Because as I said before, the market is so uniquely complex right now. You have to pay attention to like 10 different things. And in different markets. That's why it makes such a tough trading environment. When the crypto market is bullish, more often than not, you just have to pay attention to crypto, right? When the market was going up like this, right, we didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to the US equity markets, right? We started to recognize that the correlations became tighter here, and they became significantly tighter here, because the Fed started to put their foot down on interest rates and balance sheet reduction. The US equity markets, tech and growth markets started trading down, crypto started trading down and started to break down. So that correlation became tighter back here. And so that takes precedent over my unique strategy, let's just say of, I don't know, a MACD or some crap like that, right? So you could see it really depends on like a day-to-day basis. Like, well, what is looking good in terms of support and resistance? Is Bitcoin going to drag it down? Is Bitcoin going to be dragged down by US equity markets? Is the news, landscape kind of calm? Am I going to expect some crappy news from Russia and Ukraine, or Biden talking about regulation? Right? It's just like stuff like that. So you just go with the flow, take your trade based on good risk reward. Right? The best advice that I could give you, and this might obviously sound a little bit silly because I feel like it's cliche, but the best advice I could give you is like, when you take a trade, recognize what the momentum is in the market, understand where your stops are, where your target profits are, just manage your risk. That's all you could do. Everything else is out of your hands, right? The stock market is out of your hands. Biden, randomly tweeting about regulation is out of your hands. Russia or Ukraine, bombing each other is out of your hands. Any bad news can come out of nowhere at any time, okay? And the market can be surprised by that. But what you could do is, if you take a decent trade, depending on what you see in the momentum or lack of momentum, right? Just take it with good risk management and you will be fine. That's what we've been doing for the past several weeks, right? We're not here trading the market looking to get rich in a bear market. It is extremely difficult. Not only is it extremely difficult to trade in the crypto altcoin side of the market, but it's even harder to like trade even in the NFT side, which is actually doing well. But now, for the most part, most of even the blue chip NFTs are not trading that well, right? Whether it's on the Ethereum ecosystem or the Solana or the Near or the Cosmos, a lot of them seem like as soon as they get listed or minted, they're starting to go down in value. Most of them are cash grabs. Again, could be my bias, my personal experience, but that's what I see in the market. Even I'll tell you honestly, like this, I've talked about DeGod's community often, right? But I kind of ask myself, like, okay, am I getting too greedy about this NFT community because I'm quote unquote marrying the bias because I want them to succeed, or should I stick to my original formula, which is like, okay, in bear market conditions, even when NFTs are going down, I should start securing profit wherever I can, right? So I can take my profit, I could sell my DeGod, but you can kind of see like how it pulls at your different emotions in different ways, because you want to be a believer in certain assets, but it's not necessary that you have to kind of marry these NFTs and say, well, I'm only going to profit if it's 50x or 100x, right? When you get to that point of greed and the market then shows you like it keeps continuously going down, then that means either you're kind of just spraying some hopium, or you're delusional regarding the market conditions, whatever, right? So anyway, I mean, I myself am becoming very, very cautious about NFTs, not really minting them. I sold a bunch of my NFTs wherever I can, whatever little profit or loss that I could take, and that's it. Same thing with the staking and farming space. I've told y'all before, in this particular area, it is an extremely tough environment. So this Solidly ecosystem recently, just the token dropped like 95%. APRs went down. I mean, and you could see kind of this is the case with like many of the strategies that we've outlined in here. It's not a good environment to be parking passive income right now. You might get lucky on one or two that may actually go up in value for token value and your APRs are high, but it's really tough, man. It's like 1 out of 100 or 2 out of 100, So yeah, in these conditions, I find it best to be careful, sit tight, secure your money, and wait for good risk reward trading opportunities. And that's it. Take your money wherever you can. And then hopefully at some point when the trading conditions get better, then we start taking on better trades. Cool. All right, everybody. That's all I got. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed my analysis of the market. Not a whole lot on my Twitter feed other than, just some news here and there about this was crazy. Like nickel, I think overnight, went up again massively. I don't know what's going on in the resources and commodities world, but it ain't good. I'll tell you that. Zoltan, which is one of the Credit Suisse managers, talked about, a new Bretton Woods. It's basically like a new, monetary policy order for the world. That, Bitcoin could be some part of it. resource-based currencies could be some part of it. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Let me see here. AVAX, I already told y'all, I expect AVAX to at minimum come down to $50 at some point. And Solana, same thing. I expect Solana at some point to come down to $50, maybe even lower. But as y'all can see, my Pepe meme is asking for 50. Cool. All right. Thanks, everybody. Y'all take care. Good luck to you. And we'll talk soon. Okay. Cheers.